Welcome to the ARMANITALKS YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words and become much more articulate. If you're new to this channel, welcome aboard. Every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm dropping brand new videos on topics such as public speaking, social skills, creative writing, and much more. Join the tribe by hitting that subscribe button right on below. Hit that bell notification and never miss another video again. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And be sure to drop that like on your way in as we enter the world of social skills. And in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down a thread that I wrote on Twitter called The Signs of Social Intelligence. And by the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, go on and check me out there. My Twitter handle is @ArmaniTalks. I post daily tweets on soft skills. This thread, a lot of the traits are going to be stuff that seems like common sense. It's going to be like, what's the big deal? Every now and then, it's good to understand the common sense because common sense isn't common practice. And once we understand the rationale behind common sense, that's when it becomes common practice. And some of the other traits, it's not going to seem rational at first, but hear me out and you will understand why I have included it on this list. If you're ready to learn the signs of charisma, be sure to drop that like for me right on below. The very first trait, and by the way, these aren't in any particular order, is being trustworthy. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather hang out with someone who's very pleasant to talk with, but isn't trustworthy? Or would you rather hang out with someone who's pretty much a pain in the butt, but you know when the going gets tough, this person will have your back? If you think about it, the choice is the later person. The reason why is because at a core level, it's not always smart to think that everyone is trustworthy. A fantasy is to think that the more you mature, the more that you view others as trustworthy. That's simply not the case. Sometimes they will have your best interest in mind. Other times, it's not as though they don't have your best interest in mind. It's just they have their best interest in mind, which causes you to be thrown under the bus. And other times, they blatantly want you to fail. So when you spot someone that is trustworthy, this is a person who has high social intelligence. The second sign is someone who's able to create small talk. This is something that I didn't like. Especially growing up, I thought small talk was a waste of time. My thing was, why would I want to create small talk with another person? Because we're just talking about surface level stuff. Let's get to the depth of the issues. This was a faulty mindset. The reason it was a faulty mindset was because small talk lays the foundations for the entire interaction. You can't just strictly talk about philosophy with a stranger that you just met. Small talk is the feeling out stage. The more you feel them out, you see what makes them tick, what they like, the easier it becomes to create conversation later on. And most people that have a lot of charisma can create small talk with anyone. With the waitress, with the Uber driver, with you most likely. That's how you guys became friends. This individual created small talk with you. The next trait is the exact opposite. It's the ability to create a nuanced conversation. Some individuals, they do the small talk thing, but they lose focus of the bigger picture. Small talk is meant to lay the foundations for the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to understand this person in depth. So if you're always talking about the weather, if you're always talking about surface level stuff and not eventually being capable of talking about something in nuance, then the other individual simply will not feel your presence. That's why being knowledgeable in a multitude of fields helps with this. It doesn't matter if you watch sports or not. If you're somewhat updated, you're capable of adjusting in different atmospheres. It doesn't matter if you like pop culture or not, but simply being updated allows you to create nuanced conversations. So the moral with this trait is it doesn't really matter about what you like or what you don't like. It's the part where you're knowledgeable on so many different fields that creating nuanced conversation is second nature at this point. The next trait is the ability to remember names. Imagine that you're having a great conversation with someone. This other person is consistently saying your name. And as you're interacting with them, you call them a different name that is not theirs. Or worse, you completely forgot their name, period. Actually, wait a minute. Calling someone else by a different name is probably worse than completely forgetting their name, but you get the point. Socially intelligent people are capable of remembering names because they don't just get someone's name as a formality. That's something that typically happens when, let's say you're in a networking event, you're just going up to different people and you're saying, my name is X, what is your name? It becomes a autopilot activity. When it's an autopilot activity, you're probably not putting too much importance on it. Socially intelligent people take someone's name with the intention of using someone's name. The more that you use it, the more that you remember it. So that's a big trait of socially intelligent people. So the next trait is something that may surprise you. They can have a big circle, but they choose for a smaller one. Charismatic people are capable of making friends with anyone if they wanted to. However, they don't. Why is this? For a multitude of reasons. One of the reasons is because they understand the difference between an acquaintance and a friend. An acquaintance is someone that you can know on surface level, and you guys just need a touch point every now and then. A friend is someone that you know in depth. And my philosophy is that you have few friends and you have a lot of acquaintances in a multitude of fields. This is what builds a strong social circle. If you know acquaintances as lawyers, plumbers, realtors, then you have a lot of reach. You become powerful. And if you have friends that you can go through the ups and the downs with, now there's emotional fulfillment. But let's say you view everyone in the same exact light. You treat acquaintances and friends in the same exact way. This is one of the biggest reasons for loneliness. A person who is lonely is incapable of distinguishing the acquaintances from the friends. So when they don't create that separation, what happens with them is they're wondering, well, how come my acquaintances don't hit me up more? How come I'm not going through the ups and the downs with my acquaintances? Not knowing that those are attributes of friends. If the lonely person looks closer into their life, they'll see that they do have a lot of friends that actually care for them and have been with them for multiple chapters. So socially intelligent people understand that there's a big difference between a friend and an acquaintance. Friends have little of, but in-depth connections with, and acquaintances have many of and surface level connections with. The next one is observant of the small details. This is something that requires judgment. If you're way too noticing of the small details, at times it could annoy the other person. They'll feel like you're nitpicking them. If you're like, didn't you just wear those jeans 2 days ago? How come you're wearing it again? That's annoying. But let's say someone 3 weeks ago told you that they're looking for a new job and they just casually brought it up. They didn't talk about this for a long time, but they casually brought up how they're going to be in a job interview. Then they transition to another topic which they spend a lot of time on. If you can remember that, now this person is going to be like, whoa, you actually remembered that? Because they brought it up in such a little time frame that you noticing that is seen as you noticing the tiny details, but the tiny details become gargantuan in the social skills realm. The next one is gives thoughtful compliments. A thoughtful compliment is a specific compliment. And a specific compliment is typically something that this individual has a lot of control over. If you just go up to a person and you're like, wow, you're so tall, congratulations for that. This person may feel it a little bit, but they're not going to feel it too much because that's genetics. It just happened. But let's say you give them a compliment on their fashion sense. This is something that they have a lot of control over. Most likely, they put a lot of thought into studying fashion, into experimenting with different clothes, and then applying it once they leave the doors. So noticing something that they have control over is seen as a thoughtful compliment. The final two, laser-like listening skills. Listening skills is very important, and it's a big difference to hear versus to listen. When you're hearing, you're pretty much getting the content. You're hearing the audible sounds, but when you're listening, you're getting the context. What exactly is this person saying? And to listen effectively, there needs to be curiosity. Whenever someone's struggling with listening skills, chances are they are not curious about the other person. They may not be curious for a multitude of reasons. They may be highly narcissistic themselves, or other times, you just know this person so well. Let's say it's your brother. You see your brother all the time, and the more that you see them, the more familiar that you become. The more familiar that you become, the less curious that you become. And this causes you to lose context of what they're saying and just hear their words. But no matter who it is, no matter how familiar you are with them, always remain curious of the other person. And to help you be more curious in regards to the other person, assume there is this one big secret that they have that they're willing to tell you that will change your entire life. You just don't know when they're going to tell you. So simply knowing this, a little mental hack, it will make you more curious in regards to the other person. As soon as you are curious, listening just happens. And the final trait is high-level empathy. Empathy does not always mean to sit down and cry with the other person. Empathy simply means understanding of the other person's situation. Now, if someone comes to me and someone says, I've had a tough day as an astronaut, it's going to be very difficult for me to empathize with them because I don't have any experience as an astronaut. How am I going to possibly put myself in their shoes? This is why to empathize with someone, it's actually more important to introspect first. The more that you introspect and you know yourself, the easier it is to understand someone else and their trials and tribulations. Sure, I've never been an astronaut before, but I know what it's like to deal with risk. I know what it's like to work in the day. And I could get those similar contexts and put myself in their shoes, which allows me to listen because now I am more curious. So empathy is traditionally born from high levels of introspection. And that is a sign that all socially intelligent people have. So these are a bunch of the signs of socially intelligent people. Which ones did you resonate with? Even if it's not all of the traits, if you resonated with just a couple of them, then congratulations, my friend. You are on your path to being very charismatic. And if you didn't resonate with any of them, then you're in luck. I currently have a book out on the market known as Charismatic. In this book, you will get a scientific understanding of how social skills work. This book will talk about how to improve your ability to create small talk, how to improve listening skills, how to keep the conversation going, how to build more acquaintances and solidify your relationships with your friends, along with plenty of other topics. Grab the Charisma King in the description box or in the pinned comment, or you can go on ARMANITALKS.com and grab your copy today. Thank you very much for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I will catch you next time.